everybody. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David, and I'm your host. Today, I have my brother from another mother, special guest, who is going to drop his book, and it will be his autobiography of Everett Galley Cummings. Let me introduce my co-host, Narada Wilson. Welcome to the set, Narada.
Yes, always a pleasure to be here, and this, what I would call a prestigious event. Something that I think is monumental and would take Trinidad and Tobago football to another level because we knowing where we came from. And it's really an honor to be here in his presence today.
Everett Galley Cummings, my brother from another mother. Welcome to the set, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me, Steve. And very, I would like to say, auspicious occasion where I'm practically launching my autobiography, which is very, very long overdue.
Glad to have you, and I'm glad you chose Field of Dreams. We've been through hell and back, man, and I'm glad you chose us to talk about this. And I know you're going to do it with other people. That's okay, but I got the first opportunity. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, Gally. First of all, what inspired you, or what gave you the idea? Let me do a book. Let me make this happen.
Because I think there's not enough documented on Trinidad and Tobago football history. We take a lot of things for granted in Trinidad and Tobago. History we don't record, and because of that, there's a lot of malinformation, inaccuracies. People are, some are rewarded and some are not because of having friends and administration, people who might like them or don't like us or whatever. It's based on who like who. No. History is based on facts. And this book, because of the fact that I started at 15 years old, with the first World Cup team, I came on the team after they lost to Suriname. This one I got on in 1965. And I think in 2020, it's time enough for me to let Trinidad and Tobago know the history of Galley Cummings, which will incorporate everything. All of history of about 4 decades of football.
So this is like 55 years of Everett Galley Cummings.
60 years, as the book says.
And it's all...
You're correct. Yeah.
You have it in there. You read it all. Mm-hmm. And no, they don't have to ask you any questions. It's in here. Buy the book and read it.
That's it.
I am so happy that you did this. I know I haven't read it because this is the first time I'm seeing it. I probably know most of it because we've been through so much.
I'm sure.
So I don't even have to read it to talk about it, but I would read it to make sure that we didn't misspell it or something, right?
Sure.
All right. Narada, you want to
well, obviously, Steve, this is 60 years of history of Trinidad and Tobago football. And it's something that I think everyone should go out. This picture especially is a picture that everyone knows of Galley Cummings in his time starting off in football. And as we went through the chapters, and getting number 1, that first copy, I hope you have to be the number 1 to finish reading it also. So then you would have the wealth of information.
Right.
We wanted to speak of the early encounters and what started off in football, or the love and the passion for football, where it all started.
Chapter 1.
Forward.
I grew up at the corner of Dundonald Street and Melville Lane.
Right.
That's a stone throw away from the Queen's Park Savannah.
Very true.
Where the Port of Spain League was in operation.
Correct.
Back in the day with the Maple, the Shamrock, the Malvern, the Queen's Park, the Notre Dame, the Sporting Club, the Paragon, the Colts,
right.
Regiment. Back in the day was the Regiment, not the Defense Force.
Right.
And I used to hear that roar from the crowd, like in my dreams. And droves of people would be going up, down, passing where I live, to go to the Queen's Park Savannah. And then I would see players, and it was like a blessing for me as a child.
Growing up
and then I had 2 elder brothers who played football, as most people in Trinidad and Tobago did. And so when I had the opportunity to, I will go on, take a look, see what's going on, or if my brother is going to play football, I'll go with them. So basically, I was born and raised by the Mecca of football in Port of Spain back in the 50s.
Okay.
which is right close to the savannah as well.
But that's Savannah. So
Exactly.
Savannah was like my backyard.
Right.
When I wanted to go play, I had no backyard where I was living. So they used to send all of us to the Savannah.
Right.
So that was it.
And
And this is where the passion and everything started. And then I went to a school with Richmond Street Boys, which
Right.
had the uncles of Russell Latapy. Latapy went there also, Russell. But his uncle before who played with me. Then you have our good friend, Cyril Figaro.
Right.
And you had people like the Gamaldo brothers and Gwenwyn Cuss and all these people. And my elder brother, Phil, but they went to Richmond Street Boys. Richmond Street Boys back in the day were like, we used to produce national players. You could see a youngster in primary school. And what was amazing too, this is where my lifelong relationship started with Warren Archibald. When I represented North Primary Schools and he represented South.
Right.
And look at what that created for Trinidad and Tobago.
So, and all of that is in this book, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't realize this. And I was talking to on the set before how in primary school we came up against each other from way back when. And the same faces we see then is the same faces we see as we grow
Yeah, so
in
we
different
went through
stages.
that in secondary school, Benedict's, Fatima.
Right.
So, and then after that, it was senior team. So,
yes.
so you saw the relationship.
Yes, it's something Steve was saying, you know, we were talking about the transitional periods from the early days to even later on, that there was some sort of structure, even in not thinking there was a structure. There was the primary school league, and then going on into the secondary schools, and you all represented schools that had rivalries and then went on to a national setup. So now we go to the secondary school, where it's a part of, you know, your football life that most people speak about.
Right.
What happened in that transition into secondary school?
Well, what was amazing is that when I attended Fatima College and secondary school football, I was already a national player because I started playing national football from Tranquility Boys before I went to Fatima.
Okay.
And when I came back from my first tour with the national team in 1965, this was in Jamaica.
Right.
We went there. And the people who were on the team with me were more or less 10, 12 years my senior. The Alvin Cornish, the Lincoln Phillips, the Clem Clark, the Jim Lowe's and the Delbert Charlos, Alvin Ferguson, Bertram Grell, Tyrone De Labbe, Steve Sedley, Joseph was the captain. That's the team I started with. And I was 15 years old. 15 going on 16. So when I went to Fatima College, I was already a seasoned international player.
Which is
And
the
you
same
carried
thing
Fatima as well.
you were saying about opening the doors to younger players. You were exposed at a young age to a sort of leadership and seniority type of football in the country. We had a national team where we had young players entering the framework.
Well, this is basically what the book is about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like if I ask people about my history, or I remember some time ago, a guy came to Trinidad, could be about 10 years ago, and he wanted to find out something about Trinidad football. And they didn't take him to the Football Association, they brought him to me. And I said, well, what's going on here, you know?
You the library.
Basically, I think, if I am not too sure, I think we have some things on the internet now, on TFA, that you could pull up the games and certain things. But I remember for years gone by, Steve assisted a goal I scored against Guatemala. And for how much years? About 40 years after that, had it done as Steve scoring the goal.
Right.
And I assisted the goal. Steve assisted the goal.
Yeah.
So basically, these are these. But if you go to Brazil and England, these places,
No.
you know, I was in Brazil twice for coaching courses. And when you mention Pele or Revellino or somebody from a World Cup team, they could give a whole history on Brazilian football and how but the book, as I said, our book has there's so much information, that things that people, I don't think they know about me. That, like what I remember in Haiti when we lost, when we were robbed in that game against Haiti by the referees. The only picture that I have is a picture with Steve. You see the picture?
That's chapter 7.
Yes, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
So,
And, you know, and Steve was in tears, you know.
Yeah.
And we look back at that picture now and we say, boy, and I remember Steve telling me after the game, I was telling Steve, how we what motivated us to go on? And Steve said, you. I didn't remember that, but Steve said it was you. You got up in the meeting and said, listen, let's stop the crying and get out there and beat some of these teams like Mexico and them.
Yeah, you said we still have money to play for.
Is it?
Let's go out and get it. Yeah.
So basically, and this is why I'm happy to have Steve here as testimony to some of the things that are in the book. Because, as I said, everything in the book is factual. It's true. And if people from over the years, people know me well. When I say something, no joke.
So the period between getting onto the national senior team and the Haitian experience in '73, what happened in your professional career in that period in the late '60s, early '70s?
In the '70s, when I represented Trinidad with Steve and I said, with the World Cup in Haiti, I already had 2 rings from the North American Soccer League, 1968 with Atlanta Chiefs and 1972 with New York Cosmos.
Okay.
So when I went there, that was it. I think, and Steve wasn't a professional player at that time.
Correct.
But his performances in those games, people, it's like everybody wanted him. Because I remember we had 2 coaches there from who I played with. One was Gordon Bradley was there in Haiti.
Bradley was there.
And Ron Newman was there also. Okay. I played with Ron Newman in Atlanta. And he ended up being a good coach somewhere in Florida, but I don't remember the
Ron Newman in San Diego. San Diego Sockers.
All right. Yes. And
Gordon
Bradley was my coach, and he was there. And I remember after the game, they came into the dressing room and said, you guys were robbed. So it was people, it was so glaring, And when I go back to that part of my history, it's kind of sad. I still believe that FIFA should do something to sort of still honor us, go through that fateful, those fateful games. I feel somewhere the Football Association could appeal to FIFA to do something, honor these guys who went through this terrible ordeal.
I hope you tell it all in that chapter 7, about Haiti, because a lot of people want to hear about that. So this should be one of the things they want to get this book for, to see that, to hear that. And you had another hurdle to cross with the strike squad. We're going to get to that. We ain't going to go there yet. But that's another thing. Yeah.
No, but as I said, it's all documented. And as I say, the autobiography is about me, but it's also a historical, book that you can follow. And every time you follow my career, see the people I meet, who I played with, what the hurdles and structure. Sometimes it was erected in front of us that we had to cross from time to time. And we crossed it with flying colors.
Now, after you finished this book, Gally, did you oh man, I missed something. I had to go back and get it.
Missed a lot that I'm thinking about doing. I haven't started
doing a second.
Thinking of doing the next one.
Yes. Because once you get started, everything.
There's a lot of stuff we missed because I'm still happy for the fact that that my son, Gabriel, he sat down for about 2.5 to 3 years, and all I was sending him his voice notes, and he was taking that and he took it and tried to incorporate all my energies, because your son is the best person because he know me inside out, and he had to document not only what I said, but the manner in which I said it, and what energies came off from, and most of the time I talk with that kind of passion and energy. So he had to sort of document all of that in the book itself.
Right.
And I have always said, your wife, your daughter, and your son, they all have the same head, same passion, same everything.
Very true.
When me and your daughter met in New York, when Sammy had something in the backyard and honor us and stuff, and I heard her talk, I said, look, nobody could have represented you better than she did.
They know me because she brought the trophies home.
Right. And she was excellent, and she was clear, and she was, your personality was in her.
Very good.
And that was real cool. I thought that was cool. And then I met your son, obviously, at my house in New York.
Right, when he came back.
And he is no different.
It's no different. They have that energy.
So, you can see they were brought up in the same house in the right way and all of that. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So you also are a good daddy as well, but
it's
and I see in the book you've used a lot of pictures of the family.
The family pictures.
And I remember once we were having an interview where we spoke on persons who were very much involved in football. And it seems your family, you had a lot of support, and you even took them and involved them in a lot of your football choices and your career over the years. And I think in this book, you probably may have dedicated a chapter or two, including that.
At the beginning of the book, before it started, after this.
Who the book is dedicated to.
Read it all.
Yes.
Read it, yeah.
The book is dedicated to my children, Renee and Gabri, my grandchildren, Zara and Isha, and my great-grandson, Jace. I hope that it inspires them to achieve greatness in spite of all the obstacles and challenges that life presents. And I think that is everything.
That's everything right.
That you have.
and also, Shogunus to me is always like a bigger point for them. That's how I look at it, yeah? Because you grew up in Shogunus. Is Shogunus have a little piece in this book? Anything said?
Well, the piece
that's for the second
in
book.
this book is my wife. Because she's the one from Shogunus, yeah.
Or she's the one who brought it to
Shogunus.
Shogunus.
I'm from Port of Spain.
Yeah.
But when I met her back in school days, it's all in the book, and then we got married and we started living in Shogunus.
Right.
So all the kids are ready from Shogunus.
Okay, well, we're gonna take a break on that, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about all the things, or the upbringing, and all the things that's in this book. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We see other people eating hamburger and fries and drinking milkshake, so we decided to ask a question. The fellow said, "In the first place, you guys are supposed to be sitting there." And we laughed because I had a real joke. The fellow said, "No." And he said, "Look," he said, "Look to your left."
I just saw you playing all day, and you look real good. Who are you?
Well, I'm Kaiso-ka. I'm the best footballer point of the season.
Oh, really? You know any of the older players who play here?
Well, I know Warren Akibal, ordeal.
Stop. You know me? Boy, I was the best striker, the best forward that this country ever seen.
Oh, Griffith K.
Boy, I'm Steve David, boy. Okay, welcome back, viewers. All right, Gally, before I go into the Shogunus and the Dundonald Street, because I know Shogunus is not home.
Right. But you know
Dundonald Street is home.
It's home, yeah.
So I want you to differentiate the difference, and also I want you to tell us where we can get the book.
Right. So the book we could get at at Metropolitan Bookstore in Port of Spain. And it's also available at Nigel R. Khan stores nationwide, bookstores. So nationwide, which is a plus because they have stores in San Fernando, up in the east. Yeah. They have stores all in Port of Spain and in the west. So I guess we could get the copy of the book right there at Nigel R. Khan Bookstore and Metropolitan Bookstore in Port of Spain.
And for the people in Point Forden,
I think
you can come to Field of Dreams facility.
Yeah.
And if we don't have it, we'd make an arrangement for you to get it, and we have some kind of session there.
Yeah.
Gally, so your wife is such a powerful and important person in your life, and I know that, and she's a Shogunus woman, but you really done Port of Spain, man. So tell me about the two cities, how they both help you.
Well, what happened really is that my wife attended Bishop Anstey High School in Port of Spain, which was very close to where I live on Dundonald Street. A stone throw away from, closer than Queen's Park.
Okay.
And she stayed on St. Vincent Street, close to where my brother and his wife lived. So when I go to see my brother and his wife, which I went very often, she was there, and we hit up, a relationship. And it lasted until now. And as I said, we did everything together. We were like friends and family. And, as I said, back in the day, it was different than it is now. Back in the day when you get into a relationship, it was serious.
Yes.
Or else. Now it's like everybody is like, not sure about certain things. So I met her then, and everything went good. I started playing professional football, and I came back, and when in 1970 we decided to tie the knot, and this is when everything. But we attended everything. I remember in 1970 had the Black Power movement. We were in that. So we did everything together, and we support, and even now, before leaving home, she will tell me about certain things we're supposed to talk about. And she made sure that I didn't forget to autograph that book to Steve David.
Right.
Because Steve has been a very important part in my history and life. As you say, we are brothers from different parents, And so Steve, basically the relationship started back in the 60s, 70s, 60s as children, and they grow into having great-grandchildren now.
Right. Now, which will you claim as home? You claim Chagonas or you claim Dundonald Street as home?
He's putting you on the spot.
Put you on the spot here now. Those Dundonald people will be saying, wait, let me hear what you're going to say.
Dundonald started it off, and Chagonas kind of
pick it up and
run
with
it.
Say
they ran with it. So basically, that's it.
Okay. All right, we ain't gonna say no more. All right, so let's get some more into the book. What's your favorite chapter in that book? I think you have 14 or 30-something chapters. How many chapters you have?
I think it's
about 30-something.
It's 20-something.
34 something.
24, yeah.
All right. So
I think,
what's your favorite?
I think my favorite basically is like growing up as a child into football and looking at the footballing aspect of, I think, 1973.
Yeah.
Because that was our first opportunity to go to the World Cup.
Right.
It was taken away from us. And then the other one that was taken away from us was 1989.
So those two.
Those two. Because I think what happened with those two, there were a lot of inaccuracies that needed to be corrected. And what I noticed is that back in at that time, nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. You lose a game and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But what a lot of Trinidadians need to understand, there's success in failure. Mm-hmm. If we look at it in the right context, we figure it out. But when I look at the history and what we accomplished and what we did in '89, it wasn't just one game.
Right.
It was over 2 years. You had to stay in contention. This was a local technical staff for the first time. This was a local national team. I didn't bring anybody from abroad.
No, none.
I didn't bring any coaches from abroad. I didn't have no foreign coaches. My doctor, the physio, the assistant coach, the man, we all were Trinidadian. And we reached an area which part the entire country
believed in
it moved with us.
You brought the entire country together.
Yeah. It was like, some people said, the only time they saw something like that was 1962 for our independence. And I mean, these things are achievements, but we tend to look at things in Trinidad as a joke, serious things, people's lives. For all of us who play sport, when you play sport or when you're in charge of people's, other people's kids and stuff, it's serious business. So when we laugh and we joke and we make vile comments and people, so we need to serious up. This is why this book is out, because a lot of people see like guys will tell me, this fellow was the best goal scorer in Trinidad. I say, no, Steve David was. He said, well, somebody tell me that. I say, somebody always telling you guys something. It's about time. We have a history book that could depict, say, listen, this is what happened. Like, for example, in Haiti. Do you know that we got those tapes down here? You remember that? And we showed it on national TV. And it was in the hands of some people who destroyed it. because they weren't involved in it. And they find that we did too much in that tape. We beat Mexico 4-0. We beat Guatemala 1-0. We beat Haiti, as far as I'm concerned, by 4 goals to 2. And at the same time, Steve scored in one game 4 goals. Wasn't it against
Yeah, that's the last game
Netherlands?
Netherlands.
I mean, these are history. I hear people know everything in Trinidad now. They're creating history. Everything. If you ask them who were the first players to play in the North American Soccer League, they don't know.
I can't say.
And when we played, it wasn't only about playing, it was about pioneering. So we had to coach, we had to go all, wasn't about playing, you had to play also, but basically we were spreading the game in the United States.
Correct.
And what was happy is that it was De Leon, Warren Archibald, John Stedman, and myself. We were the 4 players who started playing.
Right.
You know. I went to Atlanta, and those other 3 players went to New York Generals. And what was very interesting and amazing, and I appreciated, is that when Steve took up the mantle from us, he took it to another level, where he was being selected in an all-star team before the likes of Pele and these people.
Correct.
I mean, this is history. You can't tell me, no, he didn't. No, he did. He did. I always remember when we were together, and I met him in Canada, when I was living in Canada. He was the president of George Best.
Yeah.
I never met George Best before until he was hanging out with George Best. These guys, these are people who we used to worship in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not because he's here as my friend, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
I remember Steve, in an article, when they said to Steve, what team you think could beat up on that all-star team with you and Pele and them? He said the Trinidad and Tobago national team. Am I wrong?
Right.
I read it.
Yeah.
And people don't feel that once somebody comes from abroad and they have an accent, that's it.
So,
They're better than what you have. No, I don't think so. And if I have to go back, a lot of times people might write a book, they do the autobiography. This autobiography, I want to say very openly to you guys here and the public, is that because it's about Gally Cummings, but my whole, that road I traveled is history in itself. And if I just can give you an idea, before we went to Haiti in 1973, I was in Haiti in 1966 with the likes of Alvin Coney and said, that team,
correct.
And we were wrong also. So in Haiti 1973 was my second phase. So as I say, a lot of things in the book that a lot of people know, just to give you a little insight. And this is why I'm so happy to be here this morning with you and Steve, especially Steve, who is a midfielder's dream.
Yeah, of course.
Playing in midfield, Steve, I didn't have to pick and choose where to put the ball. I just put it in distance, and he will get it and finish with it.
So let me ask something now, in terms of, because I always like to hear about the playing career, because it's something that obviously we weren't able to see at the time.
Right.
What is Gally Cummings like in Atlanta Chiefs? And I would take it even to both you and Steve. You know, what was the role being on these teams in the States? What do you think you were able to do? And Steve, also, what did you hear that was being done? I would like you to speak on some of the achievements and what you think you brought. What was the experience like in Mexico and these countries?
Okay. Atlanta, I think I was 18 years old. I was at Fatima College. And when I went to Atlanta, I didn't have a clue about what was going on. All I knew they said how racial, Trinidadians talk. Boy, them people don't do racial, you know. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Atlanta, I was in the middle of the Jim Crow law. Correct. I couldn't do this. I remember one time I went to have some hamburgers and things in downtown Atlanta with my friends because the Atlanta Chief had 2 players from Zambia, one from Ghana, and we had 3 Jamaicans. So Delroy, Laggy, Rudy Pierce, and later Alan Skillcole.
Right.
And so we had about 4 of these guys. So we got together and we decided, And we were sitting down by, the soda fountain back in the day. We sat down there, and after about 30, 40 minutes, we said, wait a minute. We see other people eating hamburger and fries and drinking milkshake. So we decided to ask a question. And the fellow said, in the first place, you guys aren't supposed to be sitting there. And we laughed because I had to be a joke. The fellow said, no. And he said, look, look to your left. When we look, so everybody's like, the white people's like, waiting for us
For
to
you
get
all
up.
to leave, right.
To leave. And we had to leave. But that is how it was. You couldn't do certain things. And I had to play football in that environment. I had to go coach white kids with the white players in the white neighborhood.
Correct.
And no matter how skillful I was catching ball and back and the neck, balance my head. They cheer and clap. But after that, when it's time to sign autographs, I had nobody in my line.
Your line was the shortest line.
They had to send people in my line, So basically, and plus, something I don't know if Steve know this, but when we started in North American Soccer League, it wasn't the North American Soccer League. It was in the National Professional Soccer League, the NPSL.
Okay.
The NASL started in 1968. Steve, you know that?
Didn't.
He would have gone in.
So when we went there, we went into a new league they weren't sanctioned by FIFA either.
Okay.
And we went across there because how we got there is they had this tournament in 1967 in Jamaica, the Kaiso-ka tournament. And they were looking for players.
Right.
I tell a guy from Jamaica, an Englishman who coached in Jamaica and loved Jamaica and stayed there by the name of Tompkinson.
He opened the doors. Okay.
So this is how Archie and all these fellas, all of us got over there. But coming back to your talk in Atlanta, it was not easy. As I said,
The book has it.
the book will tell you everything in detail about that. Sometimes we live in a world where people could have their own opinion and say things. And back in that day, you had no say whatsoever. Whatever they said, if you didn't want to do it, then the police and them would have dealt with it. So it was not easy, but as I said, but those were the obstacles sometimes the Lord put in your way. And you had to go over it. And these are the things that all young people supposed to know about us. But these stories are not being told. They're hearing all sorts of mysterious things. And I said the first thing we need to do to set the record straight is have documentation on our football heroes, or whether it's cricket, basketball, or whatever.
Correct.
Did you touch on in this book, which I hope you did, what you felt that where did we go wrong in Haiti or in '89 with the strike squad, or what could we have done better?
Yeah, '89, a lot of that,
Yeah.
and also '73,
Yes.
a lot of that. We had a lot before we left for Haiti, and when we were in Haiti, and as I said, the little ups and downs we had in the team itself. I don't know if you remember, before the Guatemala game, you guys bet me some money that I couldn't hear the ball good.
That was,
Remember that?
you talk about that? That's good.
Yeah,
I can't forget that.
Remember.
Yeah.
But you remember it?
No, I remember all that.
We were like practicing, and I was getting up higher than Cyril Morin and Cyril Figaro and heading the ball and you only playing if he can't head no ball.
Yeah.
Next game, he went down the wing and put it across for me to play.
Yes, I went online and pick it
and won all the money. So there's a serious moment
Correct.
and
right.
the fun moments that we had.
right.
But as I said back, what was amazing about Haiti is that people misunderstood who we were. Because we used to go to games, beating bottle and singing calypso, they thought we drank the night before.
Yeah. Something Steve spoke on that I don't know if it will be in the book, but I guess to create that same atmosphere, I always wondered, how could the goals have come, being disallowed, and you all still go on scoring? And he mentioned something that, I guess with the joyful spirit and the camaraderie that you all had, that for you all, it wasn't about dropping your heads and your shoulders.
No.
You all just said, okay, well, we'll just go again. And you just kept going.
Very, very, very important, interesting question, because sometimes I wonder about, I think the energy we had a kind of togetherness in the camp. Whether we played on the team or not, we were part of the team. You know, sometimes you pick a team and you reserves and you bench, you bet. No. And it was amazing because in that game, I think Steve and Archie, especially Archie, sometimes I wonder about him because he was like, what you call I don't think it could have a national team back then without Archie Ball in it. He was fond of the field and on the field, he was as serious as you go. I remember him saying something to me in Haiti, you know. Verity had me passing one side long ball. He said, hey, girl, hey, cool yourself with a long ball, you know. We ain't from England, you know.
Yeah.
That's what he said. We're not from England. And a lot of the book, 90% of the book is about our style of football. Our style of football.
Let's take a break now, and when we come back, we pick up where we left off.
All right.
Viewers will be right back after the short break.
They came to my home in Savannah, and they videotape and film everything. A cat and a dog run across my lawn. They videotape that. All in my house, pictures on the wall. They wanted to look where Steve was. Did I call you Steve?
Yeah, you did.
Because they wanted to talk to Steve. And the guy tell me, after we beat Mexico 4-0 in Haiti, they removed coach, everybody, president of football, everybody.
We, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Gali, I know there's parts of this book that you want to bring out, or things that you know that a lot of people don't know, and they should get the book to hear it. Just let's touch on a couple of those things. Like, for example, give me some of those
Well, I
things.
would say our style, our way as Trinbagonians, how we do things. You know, just about a week ago, I was watching this program on TV where Smooth Edwards, the arranger for Marcy All Stars, was talking about Pan, and he was saying that how he knows that All Stars playing well is by how the crowd reacts.
Right.
And I thought he took a page from my book because this is how I felt as a coach. When the strikes got playing and people sleeping, I know we ain't playing good. We ain't playing Trinidad and Tobago football. Mm-hmm. I remember back in '88. I think it was October or November '88. We were playing the first game against Honduras at the Queen's Park Oval. And a 16, 17-year-old Dwight York was on the bench. And I brought him on in the second half. And when Dwight York hit the soccer field, nobody sat down after that. And this is when I know we playing Trinbagonian football. Because nobody sat down. Dwight, and a little drizzle fell.
Little rain.
A little rain. And Dwight was dumbing and slipping to Hudson Charge, and Hudson Charge back healing. It was the beautiest thing to see. A schoolboy back in the day come on the field and then he hit one. The goalkeeper had to put over the bars. And the crowd got up. And after that, for the next 40 minutes, Trinidad and Tobago didn't sit down. And this is how I know when the strike got, they're playing good football and entertaining, because football is entertainment. And you could say what you want as a coach, as a player, but if something is not entertaining, that people don't want to see it.
Right.
You could have the best players if your football is not entertaining. And I always remember that. And from that, then I look at people like the Latapis and the Elliot Allens and the Clayton Morris, and they all had skill. Before you could make the team, you had to have skill. And the Kaiso-ka soccer is something that I saw and witnessed as a child. Getting that song, that roaring song from the grandstand in Park Savannah. Because we had no coaches back then. So
You're created, yeah.
People used to play a certain way, and the crowd just loved it, and this is what stayed in my mind. So when I coach in football, if people are not enjoying it, I don't feel the team, and they enjoy it because that energy is connected to the crowd, and that is what Kaiso-ka soccer is all about. And this is what Smooth Edwards was talking about. When he said if All-Star playing panel, he practicing a piece of arrangement, and people are watching him, so he knows something wrong, because it must be energetic. It must be it's like it relates to you.
Correct.
It's like somebody might dance a calypso dance, but if you look at that Trinidadian couple dance, hey, look at Trinidadian. So basically, it's something in us that the Lord gave us, and it has a lot to do with the Kaiso and the Pan and the Limbo and the Tasta. It's something indigenous that we have, and the world still wants to see. And if we don't want to use it, then football wouldn't be, or anything else wouldn't be the same way.
Right. And you're right. It's just like how China is adopting our pan, like it's theirs, and they're doing it.
This is exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. Is there, 89 to me, like you said to me, you tried to adopt the 73 squad. You tried to replace every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, you guys have done everything right, even outside of football.
Right.
This song, the people coming together, did this, did that. You guys did everything right. Is there anything now in hindsight that you could look back on and say that maybe I should have done this? Or even the personnel that you brought, maybe I left this one out. Maybe I could have brought him in. Is there any regrets in
you always have regrets. Yeah. That's part of life, And I think it have a lot of different things that happen that sometimes sometimes you lose a game before the game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff went on before the game that nobody sometimes want to talk about, but it affects with the game. A holiday was given without our permission. And you know Trinidadians, you give them something before if they don't work for it to earn it, they're going to squander. So it's that people are acting as though at a foregone conclusion, man.
They didn't earn it, is what you're saying. Earn it.
And then it had a lot of politics playing. Certain individuals were doing things, And I remember I was like trying to protect the players, and it's like they came after me, And as I said, there are other little things that I don't want to talk too much about.
Of course,
things
you can't give away everything.
I can't give away everything, but there are other little things that I mentioned, and but what was amazing also is the fact that when we left Forest Reserve,
right,
yeah,
for all our games, we stop in a church and we say a little prayer, and then we get back into the bus and we leave. That day, I thought we were going to the wrong church. The church, so it had everybody you could have think about was in the church. The church, its capacity was about 200 people, or maybe 100. There were about 2,000 in the church. We had to change it and go to another church, and people are hugging and crying and all this kind of thing, Sometimes you tell yourself, maybe if we stayed in another country and flew in for the game or something. But as I say, this is the way of the world. There's a lot of, but as I said, what my son did, he went in and did research on every single thing. I just want to share one thing with you. We played our first game against the U.S. in Torrance, California, the 13th of May, 1989. Our return game was the 19th of November. 6 months. You what? For a return game?
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, well.
So, as I said, read the book. Because we went into things in detail. So nobody could come out and say, this is my story.
Correct.
Everybody else might look at the book and say, well, boy, this is your story. When you get a chance, you tell that. Okay? And what is amazing also is the fact that I remember we played against Peru. The mighty Peru, and we beat them. in the soccer. We had a soccer bowl tournament, Peru, Northern Ireland, and Ecuador, and everybody. We won the tournament, beat this team and you know what was said in the newspaper? That was Peru's second team. This is how Trinidadian thinks. I went online and saw pieces of the game where Peru played Brazil and Ecuador in the South American Cup. Same team. Every player, same team, on the bench, coach, everybody. But this is how, we beat Mexico 4-0. I scored the first 2 goals. Steve and Archie scored the other 2.
Correct.
4. But Mexico only recorded 2 goals. They cut television, everything. But after we went up 2-0 in Haiti, Mexico decided this is not for our people to see. Trinidad and Tobago beat Mexico 4-0. And about 3 years ago, I received a call from Sean Fuentes, who told me that some Mexicans are in town and they want to interview me. You know what these Mexican people were? They came to my home in Chaguanas and they videotape, film everything. A cat and a dog run across my lawn. They videotape that too. All in my house, pictures on the wall. They wanted to know where Steve was. Did I call you Steve? Because they wanted to talk to Steve. Yeah. And the guy tell me, after we beat Mexico 4-0 in Haiti, they removed coach. Everybody, president of football, everybody. And he also said, and they called me the Verdugo, VRDO. It means the executioner of Mexico football. And you know what's amazing? As in the book also, when I went to Mexico,
I remember this.
I thought, well, being a nice guy, sports, I thought, well, it was easy car, you go there and everybody accept you because you're a good player and not thinking, understanding how Mexicans felt about us. I remember the first game, when I went, the first game, the first game I saw, I didn't play in the first team, I went there and they introduced me to the crowd. So I had to go out at halftime. We have Mr. Cummings from Trinidad and Tobago, scored 2 goals against Mexico. And I hear the loud uproar. And I smiled because I thought of me. The guy who was doing my interpreting, he said, Mr. Cummings, if you know what I was saying about you, you would smile and wave to the crowd. They were cussing every part of me. Because this is how these people think. Every place I went to play for the Veracruz team, never accepted me. I had to work that out of them and be there for a year. And as I said, good personality, mingling with the media and the crowd. But it goes to show you how these people think. They rebuild their whole football after 1973. So when people talk about Mexico and why they're doing so well, Mexico don't play when they come to football. Right. And you see, we still have this attitude now. He's the best coach, he's the best player. Then Mexico thinks about who is the best team. Mm-hmm. And this is what we need to focus. Who's the best team? Not who's the best player and who score more goals than who. If that was the case, then Steve would have been doing every interview in town. Because he took the North American Soccer League by storm. I used to be listening and watching him on TV playing all the time. For one reason, I feel proud because I feel like we hand him the baton and run it. So when I saw these guys like Molino and these guys doing well, I feel good. I feel good about Joven Jones because his father was a strike squad, Kelvin. So, and then it makes you feel good to see Trinbagonians doing good all over the world. But as I said, we need to also understand our history. Because what we need to go back to also is like 1973, 1989, 1978, and take information.
Correct.
And the only place where we could get that information is by looking at history. But if you don't pay attention to history, you will repeat the same mistakes over and over again. But as I come back to what Narada asked a while ago, I think one of the biggest chapters we have
there is a chapter 18, Hidden Agendas Revealed. I am interested in that chapter. So I'm going to go and read that chapter. Is there any?
Very important, that chapter.
Yeah. So if you want to share anything in that chapter,
Well, I think that
welcome
chapter
to.
is where my son and I, we did all the research on certain individuals and started to understand that we as a people sometimes can be very naive,
Right.
especially when what we saw just recently with FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very naive. So when you research it,
I read it and I had to bring it back in the show and say, hey,
to
we
be
need
quite
to
honest
talk
with you, I went through the book a lot of time when I had the manuscript, and it has some a lot of stuff in the book that people a lot of people don't understand or they don't know about me.
Right.
Some things people say, and especially people in the media and people and spectators, they go on as they say in Trinidad, they go and run their mouth and they don't understand. But after reading this book, they will have a entirely different concept on who Gally Cummings is and what Trinidad football did over the years and who is who. Because as I say, a lot of people, Steve, get awards. They got big places in social standing in the community because of inaccuracy and malinformation about them. But the book will tell you a lot about who is who and who did what. Because it's very important for history when your young people are fed the truth and nothing but the truth. Correct. Because a lot of young people might be walking around today thinking certain people have done certain things and they haven't.
In terms of, and I would just say, there are a lot of accolades and achievements that you received over the years. Is there anyone that you're most proud of, and why, if so?
I think the individual of the year in 1989 was given to me in the strike squad. And I respected that because that came from the people.
All right.
It's the people who vote those things. Anything coming from the people, you know, it's coming from inside,
From the heart. Yeah.
from the heart.
Yeah.
And this, but I've received a lot, and I think what was amazing is the fact that until this day, I'm the only footballer to have won a Sports Personality of the Year award. And you know, it's amazing. That should tell you something about football. And some people are saying, nobody, you know, no other footballer. And when I won it, I tied with Bernard Julian. Mm-hmm. This was after Haiti. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of wrangling. People say, how could the Gally, everything the man achieved, they want to give peace to somebody else. But the important thing is that football won it in 1974. And you see what I'm talking about? 1974. After 1973. And football have never won the Sports Personality of the Year award since that. And that is an achievement I cherish.
So before we go, we run out of time. Mm-hmm. What do you want the public to get out of this? What you target everybody, obviously. You want everybody to read it. Mm-hmm. But what do you want them to get out of this book?
What I want them to understand is who I am. And as a coach in 1989, what I had to do to succeed in the midst of a lot of hurdles that were thrown my way. And I want them to understand also the fact that this is a history book. Even though it's about Gally Cummings, my autobiography, it is a history book because it takes me through everything from age 8. And what I want people to understand is that we have people who have done human service to this country. And people must respect the fact that our young people need to understand our history, and not only in football, but in other things. And what I will hope to is that certain institutions, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sport, Ministry of Social Development, and there's another ministry that is
the new
controlled by
Fitzgerald Hines, yes.
I will hope that they will be the first to buy copies of these books and So basically, I just want Trinidad and Tobago to buy the book and to understand the history, the vast history of Trinidad and Tobago football.
Gally, thank you so much for being here, but we run out of time and we so quickly, right? We need to do it again with the second book, the part 2.
Okay.
Appreciate you so much, always. Love always.
Thank you very much, and I hope that Trinidad and Tobago will see fit to purchase a copy.
No, I thank you for being here.
Yes, I would just say quickly, Metropolitan Bookstore and all Nigel Arkan. And Gali, this is your award to the people now after all the awards and success you've received.
ACTN, thanks for giving us the opportunity. Viewers, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you as well. The show comes on Monday night at 8 and repeat on a Tuesday at 1 and also on a Saturday at 1. Facebook page, you can check us out. Email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. The show is End to Go in Peace. My name is Steve David.